Yep.
Do it.
There we go. Hi, everybody. We are here.
It's a little chilly tonight.
That is a little chilly. I'm going to put you up here by Kate
Okay.
and put
Like
myself
8
down
degrees.
here. There you go.
It's like 8
So,
degrees.
welcome to my friend Kate, Dream Detective, coming here with us, and Diana Boles, of course, oil painter. And this is a suggestion that was made by Diana. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about it. But first of all, I want to apologize about the mix-up with the times today. And thank you if you're back here. I want to say thank you for coming back. I did that inadvertently when I was setting up the meeting, so I'm so sorry. Yeah. So, anyway, so Diana, tell us what inspired you to want to talk about this number one, and then whatever else you might want to say.
You did.
I did.
You
Okay.
inspired. It's all on you.
It's all on me. Okay.
As a teacher, first of all, as an artist, especially one who has illustrated children's books, secondly, as a Gemini who writes for people and does things and writes constantly and journals, and as someone who still has her favorite children's books, the ones that she carried around with her in her, this is my, I keep them in, some of them in plastic. I mean,
wow. Yeah.
this is, right, Mary Poppins
Yes.
and the Gingerbread Shop. This
Yep.
I have carried around with me since I was 4 years old. This is where my interest in stars started out, because in the end, Michael John and what's her name are sitting on the bed. They have just caught Mary Poppins and the Gingerbread Lady doing something. And the question that they ask is, so what I really want to know is, are the gold stars paper, or is the paper really gold stars?
Oh.
And that set me off on a career. At age 4, it began. And then, of course, we have, oh my God, I brought them all, right? Peter and Wendy.
Oh.
Guess how long I've had this?
Oh, that looks so familiar to me. Those are golden books, right?
Yes, ma'am. Remember going to the grocery store, being good and getting a 10-cent book or a nickel book?
My father bought me one a week, but only golden books, because that was, and we went to J.J. Newberry's to get them.
Yeah. And look what I've got.
Uncle, oh wow, that one.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't find that anymore.
No, I've got another copy, but not of this. It's a different artist, but it's right. And remember Toodle?
Yep, Toodle. Yep, I do.
Mickey Mouse and Christmas shopping. Frosty the Snowman. Guess who lives here? A Day at the Zoo. I went to the zoo once. Never wanted to go back because I felt so the polar bears. The polar bears had tags in their ears and I couldn't understand it, and I started to cry.
Yep.
So, and this is this one, Mrs. Ticklefeather. Oh my God.
I've never seen that one.
That cover.
Oh, that's adorable.
What a great name.
This isn't even a drop in a bucket. These are some of my golden books, but of course I had to share with my brother. So we're all avid collectors, right? Mm-hmm. But Little Sally Mandy, maybe you don't even know this book, because I'm so much older than the rest.
Right. Well, not really. But... Oh, wow.
So these are the kinds of stories that my mother had as a child, right? She was born in 1928. But the pictures and having her read me these stories, and oh my God, they're still so ingrained in my body, my mind, my soul. Then Eloise, do you remember the actress Kay Thompson? She wrote Eloise. She's the one responsible for all of that. And this
Uh-huh.
one my mom got when it came out because, of course, she sang all the songs and all that
Right.
stuff.
But
And
this also inspired you to be a teacher of young children,
a
correct?
teacher of young children, and
Right.
you know who Kate Smith is. God
Oh, yeah.
bless America. Do you know she wrote children's books?
I did not know Kate Smith wrote children's books. No.
The
Well,
Tales of Annabelle
Wow.
and
Uh-huh.
the story of the Tooth Fairy and what they do with the teeth if they're clean
Uh-huh.
is in this book. So that's just the
what do
beginning.
they do
right?
if the teeth are clean?
You get more money. You get an extra nickel.
Oh,
I don't know.
Right? You get dimes if your teeth are clean. If you haven't taken care of them, you're lucky to get 3 pennies.
oh,
And when your teeth are shiny, pearly white, they make the castle. If
Oh.
they go to the garden.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
there's a whole thing about everything. But
Uh-huh.
paying children for teeth goes back to the Vikings.
Oh, is that when it started? Okay.
Because carrying children's teeth was good luck.
wow.
Okay.
So it isn't just the dental industry.
Creepy though, isn't
They
it?
have really cashed up.
Yeah.
But it was a fairy
Oh.
thing.
Wow.
And, it caught on,
That's
but it was
cool.
begun by the Vikings.
Uh-huh.
So you had talked about pushing a button and getting a term paper or
Yes.
a
It's
subject matter paper
chat
or
GTP.
your
Mhm.
dissertation. And
Right.
wait a minute, that blew my mind because if we've learned nothing else, we've learned how corrupt the cheaters are and the grifters and the
And the
carpetbaggers and all the other crap that goes with that. So now what? We're going to get to the point where bibliography comes out with it because that's just a couple weeks away.
Absolutely. Eventually. Yeah.
And then you're going to go see a doctor.
I
And is he
know.
going to put on a YouTube video while he's using a scalpel to cut open so he can make sure
It's always been my fear that brain surgeons were going to plagiarize or cheat. And then, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
Yes.
Well,
Okay,
look at how many. I mean, even just the people who have had plastic surgery that goes wrong, or just going for surgery and ending up with MRSA and ending up never being able to walk again because your knee replacement went bad.
Yeah.
This is what happened to my mother. It was horrid. And
Yeah.
she spent 5 years in bed before she finally passed over.
So sad.
I'm so sorry.
So, of course, that got me to thinking you should have seen the dreams I had that month, right? So
we'll talk about those on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kate. Go ahead.
So,
Go ahead, Kate. Yeah.
I was just going to say that I know what the topic is that we are discussing, but I think that there are some people that are joining in. If we could just recap what the subject point is that we're
Sure.
talking about, because
Sure.
I know that if I'd come in the middle of that, I would have gone, wait a minute, what are we talking about? and I noticed there was a question. Hi, Miss Mims. I hope you're feeling well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we could explain where
Sure.
slowly.
No, I get it. Diana's on a rampage. So there's a few things we want to talk about. The first one is the chatgpt and how that's going to change things, and not for the better. We've also got banned books coming back in certain states, and which is totally ridiculous to me. And some of it also that's interesting to talk about are some of these older stories. And I remember in my literature class talking about how scary actually that fairy tales really truly are. I mean, it's like, they killed them and they stuck them in an oven and they cooked them and all that stuff. And yet, we're okay. No, we're okay. So, yeah.
It was a non-reality even to the kids, because sooner or later you grow up and you know that Krampus doesn't really exist.
Correct.
You could have nightmares, but there is no Santa. Shh, don't tell me. Don't tell me, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What's the one thing that humanity has wanted to do since its early days of being able to understand language, communication, and things that take memory. Remember what has been said, what has been taught, what has been handed down verbally.
Handed down. A lot from oral story. True.
Yeah. Right. All from oral story. So, you know, we have cuneiform and Ogham and runes, and actually runes came before Ogham, and symbolic writing, as well as the alphabet as we know it, and all of these different methods of teaching reading that has progressed from the very beginning of using your fingers to spell Ogham. Not just
what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what Ogham is.
Ogham is like the ruins, only it's a Celtic version.
Oh, a Celtic version. Okay.
And the ruins, it's believed that the runes that the Vikings made actually came from their journeys and what they saw in cuneiform writing. Okay.
Sure. Right.
So now let's consider the scholars way back before writing. Okay. And I'm on this rampage because I really don't trust today's most of humanity to do the right thing, to really know what they're talking about when they hand that paper in, because it's going to be an A paper. Yeah. And what did they study to get that A paper? Can they fulfill the questions that are going to come their way without pressing a button to get the A paper? Right. So in my endeavor,
it was already bad enough, is my point.
It was.
You have people that were going to plagiarize in different ways, but now and actually what's really disturbing to me about it, this chatgpt, is that it's going to take away editing jobs. It's going to take away, writing job. And we're just going to be pushing a button again for AI to take care of this.
It's that, I can't even remember the name of the show, but everybody's up in space and they're all, it's an animated show and they're all just getting bigger and bigger in the chair and sucking on a Coke and pushing a button, and everybody's doing it all for them. So in my endeavor to...
Do you know what it is, Kate? Do you know what it is?
From the show Wall-E.
Wall-E.
Yeah,
okay.
Wall-E. It is Wall-E.
Yeah, Wall-E.
And that was a film before they animated it. There's a version of it. My name is Ben. I spell it Ben, and that goes back to early 90s, and it was the same little robot, but animated. These guys build it, and it's crazy. Okay, so anyway, so I stumbled upon this in my research. Now, these are scholars talking. Writing will create forgetfulness. In the learner's soul, the forgetfulness in the learner's soul, they will not use their memories. Trusting the characters and not the remember of themselves. Because the memory was extremely important, because everything was passed down verbally. This is before cuneiform. Okay.
True.
Yeah. This is what the scholars were thinking. Yeah. It is not an aid to the memory. Well, we know that is not right? But it is to the reminiscence. It is an aid to the reminiscence. Because if you have read it, now you're experiencing it from a different perspective. Because if you just had to remember every word that was told to you, that was the seed, was the words that were spoken. The writing, pick an apple. Do you bite into a worm or not? Pick another one. That's what these guys are thinking, right? So it is not an aid to the memory, but an aid to the reminiscence, and it gives disciples not to be trusted, but only to be a semblance of things. So you can't trust what you're reading when it's
No, you
written,
can't trust
but you
memory,
can trust what
unfortunately.
somebody's saying to you because they have to remember it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So how things
But
change.
you know, it gets revisionist after a while. You know, we
Well-
do that. We know that just from that game we used to play as kids, the telephone game. Remember?
Yes.
And but it was
Yes.
totally different. Yeah,
Right. And we didn't even write it down. Can you imagine?
that's right.
So
Yeah.
and
Yeah, this is true.
and it's only the semblance of truth, and they
Yeah.
will hear of many things and will have learned nothing.
Right, right. That's right.
They have
But there's no
heard
critical thinking either.
about it,
Yeah.
but they didn't learn about
They didn't learn anything. You're right.
And they
So
will
yes,
show and they will show wisdom without the reality of it. So
I understand. Yep.
we're in that same dilemma.
We are, and many people are really confused by it. Yeah.
Now,
I heard this, Sherry. Every 10 years, there's a Texas school in the book depository. Yes, but there's a Texas school committee that meets and decides what will be in the history books in Texas, and they take a vote on it. And so you're stuck with the same history book for 10 years. And they take out every bit of slavery, the KKK, the Civil War, Martin Luther King, civil rights, all of that stuff is gone.
Wow.
And we know this is where it started.
Well, I didn't learn it in the 50s. They refused to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I think
Hitler we talked about because it was there.
Yeah, we didn't know about the Native Americans and all that other stuff, but then it became more known, and now they've taken it away again because you know we aren't supposed to be woke. You know?
I mean, and now, so I understand what they were saying is, are they writing what you want, what they want you to learn?
Yeah.
Rather than what we know through experience to be the truth.
Yeah.
And through our memory and handing it down verbally from person to person. Right? Yeah. Well, we've had safeguards in place when it comes to writing and printing a book, and you can write a novel, and this is what it qualifies as.
Correct. You have an editor, you have proofreader.
Or science fiction, right? All of that stuff. So we're in a dilemma where all of this can be an aid, absolutely. But the guidelines have to be so perfected and so immaculate that there can't be any cheating. And you know, that's not going to happen because look at Santos.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, they had a Princeton test. I don't know if it was an entrance test or whatever it was. And they put it through this chatgpt and got 100%. Now, I know that a test that you take, you have to sit in a room and they have monitors and all that other stuff. Do you remember even, Kate, when we first started getting the little adding and machines, the calculators, and they wouldn't let us put it into math? Yeah.
That's right. Yep. You had to do longhand. I'm still sometimes better at it longhand.
I know. They were so worried we were going to be stupid, but at the same time, for me with math, it made more sense as long as you could understand it, you know.
And you see the back, I mean, you can see how it works. You can see it functioning. Because what was hard for me was the flat blackboard and white chalk.
Sure.
You know, there was no animation. Everything was just this flat. Yeah. Why do you want to learn anything? It's all flat.
Yeah. Yep.
It's kind of like everything you needed to know you learned in kindergarten, right?
We hope so.
Yeah.
But there are certain times where you wonder if they did, because the experiences are so different.
Uh-huh.
There are more things that we are alike in than those things that we are different in. And I have to take the hopeful, optimist side and
Uh-huh.
say there are enough people that understand what truth is and understand how it can affect us that are willing to uh, go to bat and say, okay, we want to see how this is really going to work. What are you doing here?
Hmm.
Because I
Hmm.
can see the aspects of AI being in writing, being of benefit
It
to,
can be
uh,
in certain cases.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
certain
Oh,
ways. Yeah, in
Yeah.
certain ways.
Yeah.
did you watch that video that I spread around with Heather Ensworth and
Yes.
Robert? I got the book.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Right.
mean, and it is artificial intelligence that he talks about in the creation with the little tiny styrofoam balls and oil and how they begin to, even though they are non-organic, they begin to circle around in this plasma,
Hmm.
and they fight organic for food.
Hmm.
And so we have a non-organic fighting for food
Yeah.
Hmm.
in the same spot that organic wants to eat the same food.
Right.
So we have teacher Barbara here, who's a teacher in Florida, and I have to say, Barbara, I don't know how you do it, especially with what's going on. I don't know what grade you teach, but bravo to you.
Mhm.
I saw that some teachers had to block off like their libraries in the rooms,
Oh, yeah.
and because there's that banning of books, and I don't know. To me, I remember at one point, Tipper Gore, when Al was the vice president, Tipper Gore wanted an initiative where she got rid of some bad song lyrics. And, there are some bad song lyrics. There's some dirty song lyrics out there. And it was turned down completely because it was infringing upon the rights of the First Amendment. And so, banning books is an infringement of the right of the First Amendment. And, and we've seen it over and over. There's even a banned books week in October every year. And the ones, I'm sure you've heard of them and you probably read a bunch of them. And it only entices people, or kids especially, to want to read them. Like, what's wrong with it? Let's try to get it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I guess it's up to parents to choose what if they don't want their child to read something. But at the same time, books that we've had forever and ever and ever, the generations have read, especially books. When I'm talking about, let's say, Ernest Hemingway, and a lot of high school students read Old Man and the Sea and a few of his other stuff. He was very racist. He was very racist. He had all the names of all the racial slurs in his books. And I tell my students all the time, these books were written in this period of time, and that was okay then.
Mhm.
Yes, it's not okay now, but we don't go in and take white out and do anything with that right now. you
Right.
know
Yeah.
Lest
I remember.
history repeats itself, and look what's
it does.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember when somebody asked me if I was an avid reader, and I said, "Well, no, I didn't think so. I didn't think I was an avid reader." And both of my daughters chimed in and said, "Mom, you read us every night Beyond the Mists of Avalon. Are you kidding?"
Oh, really?
That was what I
You
read to
read that
them
to your
as we were.
girls?
Yes, I read that
What'd
to
you
my
do with the
girls.
scene? What'd you do with Morgana's sex scene with her brother?
Well, that I skimmed over. That one we kind of just skip a
Oh,
few pages.
Yeah.
Skip it, but I also shared with them Women That Run with Wolves.
Yes.
wow. Well,
Beautiful book. Beautiful book.
Right? Because
wow,
there was
that is
so much that it was wisdom written in the
Mhm.
symbolism, written in the
Yeah.
secrets, written in a
Of,
way
of
that they
story.
could.
Of story.
right.
Yes.
Absolutely. And this whole thing about having a dragon slayer, marry the dragon slayer. Don't marry the
Marry the
dragon. Okay.
dragon.
Just Come on, let's make that clear that you're looking for a dragon slayer, the one
Yeah.
who's going to go do something, not say he's going to do it, but someone
Right.
who actually does it. Because for women, we love those words. We love to listen to the courting messages. We
Sure.
love to be wooed and talked to and paid attention to. But when it
Yeah.
comes down to it, it really is, what are they doing? Because it's what they're doing is was where you can tell what's going on with the guys. But there were days where I would call them up and say, honey, I think you've married the dragon. Or maybe
We all make that
it's that
mistake at least once.
it wasn't that you'd married them, but maybe you're dating them. But there's just so much out there that that touches and heals and motivates and gives us inspiration. So I don't know that a computer can actually fill in the tender parts that we have in writing that
I
are
agree.
just
But these
so
are more
beautiful.
technical papers, I believe. But you're right. You can put in, and somebody said that they could write a novel. So, but here's another thing I want to say.
Sure.
We have a lower group of people that like to read. That's why all the Barnes and Nobles shut down all over the country, and now they're coming back a little bit. But I teach students at the college level in creative. They have to take a literary theory class with me, even if they're creative writing students.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that they don't even read.
Wow.
And we have more people writing that never read. And to me, reading and writing goes in tandem. It's like marriage and dating or whatever. And we have things that come out like from E.L. James. I don't know if you've ever read her stuff, but it was that what is it? The sex one with oh God, what's those name of the book? But anyway, a couple of movies came out with it in there.
50 Shades of Grey.
Shades of Grey. Yep. Shades of Grey. And my daughter bought it way back or looked at it in the bookstore, before she was going to buy it. And she said, this is the worst writing I have ever seen in my life. And that woman's a millionaire.
Oh yeah.
It's a millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, but Harry Potter's awesome.
I get
I've
it.
read almost all of them.
Good for you. Yeah. Good
This
for you.
is like sitting on my mother's knee, listening.
Oh.
You want to know why I speak in rhyme all the time? Hey,
So-
the fiddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon.
I remember him.
Okay.
The little dog laughed. But Barbara has to scan every single book for approval in her classroom, and her classroom libraries have to be approved. And to me, that is an extension of helicopter parenting.
Oh,
What do you think?
bulldozer.
You've heard of helicopter parenting? Have you heard of that before?
Oh yeah.
And it's when parents hover over their children,
Oh.
and they, I've had students in the past that will call their mother, I got a really bad headache. Is it okay if I take an aspirin or a Tylenol or whatever? And their parents have to know everything they're doing and everything. And it's
Wow.
it's stifling. It's stifling. So now the government's going to do that. I understand if you're 6 and 7 years old. But we're talking about 19, 20-year-olds that are still being parented that way. So they have no tools out in the real world when they go out there. And so, yes, of course, they're going to use chatgpt because they just want to get done with college or whatever it is that they're doing. They don't care anything about writing a paper. There's there's nothing.
No.
So,
Well, and that's another thing is paper.
Yep.
I can't give this up. I have a Morris Speller here. 1896. I have all these antique books. These are the kind of readers that kids would have back at the turn of the 1900s, 1910s.
Yep.
I have an 1871 copy of Fortunes of Nigel by Walter Scott.
Cool.
And then I have a 1900 copy of Ivanhoe. It's like Then
Wow.
Franklin hadn't really perfected the glasses yet. Where the heck did you? How did you guys read this? Oh my
I
gosh!
know.
But you know,
Well,
I mean,
I agree with Miss Mims, and we are talking about that actually, Miss Mims, where students, I said, I give them all kinds of formulatic papers that they have to, so I have to see how their research progressed. That's how I'm dealing with it. But
Awesome.
it's,
Yeah.
but then I have to do extra work because now I've got to use this tool to see if they have cheated. So
Right.
it's
for
making
your
it harder for
$10
us.
an hour, here you go. Oh, we'll give you a raise. Now you're making $13 an hour.
Yeah.
No, I know teacher salary is not that bad, but it's not very good for all the work that you have to put in.
Not the work that you do
And I
when
can,
you're not
you know,
at work. Yeah. Yep.
especially with the
Oh my gosh.
level
Wow.
of
It does that right now. It does.
Wow.
If it doesn't know, it makes it up.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and this is what Wikipedia, you know, we're told, we tell our students, you cannot use Wikipedia. Why? Because anybody can go in there and change it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like another Wikipedia, only worse in some cases. Yep.
No, I always go back to my book and check my sources because I have a book on the shelf. You know,
Heather, chatgpt is where you go into this particular, it's a bot, and you go into this bot and you say, I would like a paper written on congressional directives from 1923 to 1935, and it will zip out a paper, a 5 to 6 or whatever page paper at the academic level of college in a lot of cases, and there's your paper. But they're not really generating references yet. And so, or if they don't know, they make stuff up. So that happens too. But it's only going to get better, and you know that because we're at the worst of it now. But it will get better and better and better, and I don't think you'll be able to detect it. You know, you really won't. So, yeah. So here's Anne is a researcher and does a lot. She's an educator as well down in New Zealand, and she said there's another school of thought to embrace it, to use it in your writing and learn how to source. Yes, we have been trying to put a positive spin on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you this, I'm glad I'm at the end of my teaching career, more or less, and not just at the beginning, because I think I'd change right now. I really would.
It was the onset of bulldozer parents that helped me cinch my decision to quit.
Okay. Well, you know that because the parents, it's awful. That's why at college I don't have to deal with the parents. That's the only place I'll go, or I was going, because they're autonomous, even if they're high school students. But I couldn't do public education because the parents are, yeah.
So the Latin script language began to be created in the 7th century BC. So before that, we had cuneiform, which was used from 612 BC till around 911. And then we had Ogham in the 4th and 6th century AD. And then we had the ruins that were before that. They came in the 3rd to 4th century. So that was, they're pretty sure that the merchants and sailors from the Vikings that went around the world, in spite of what we were taught about Columbus, found the cuneiform in Mesopotamia and brought it back and started using that in rocks. And then Ogham came after that, and that was just to make these hash marks on sticks or rocks. But everything, it's like Japanese, Chinese. One figure is a whole paragraph. It's like the Sabian images for astrology, or the glyphs for astrology. Each line that you make has a meaning, and when you put them all together, you get Mercury, Sagittarius, this, because the circle of completion is brought in by the receptor, the half arc, the receptor of Mercury's horns, right? It's not horns on the top of Mercury's head, it's a cup. And he's pulling in knowledge, and he's got the whole circle with all the information. And now he's got a whole body. So now he's bringing it from the above to the earth. And the cross in the center is the line from above to the earth. So there's a couple of really good videos on that by Rick Levine. And he has a channel on YouTube. And if you have the opportunity to watch those, you should do that, because it explains a lot about the written language to begin with, because if you could do that, you could spell. Hello, witches. Come on, girls.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of conversations in here, and
I bet
they're really good ones.
In the chat, there are really good ones. You're starting research in primary school, Teacher Barbara. God bless you. God bless you. That is fabulous to know, because by the time I get students in my writing classes, they only know how to do a 5-paragraph paper, the old model for a paper. And now that's not the regular model anymore, So.
Catholic school was making me do that in 7th grade.
Which model are you talking about?
There's a 5-paragraph paper that my high school students come in with, and that's how they think they're supposed to model every paper. And what it is it's just a way to get them to think about what they need to do. But usually, they should have done that in junior high. By the time they get to high school, they should know a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. Good for you, Teacher Barbara. Thank you for being here, especially since a lot of this has a lot to do with Florida, and you're one. I'm sorry that you're dealing with what you're dealing with.
Green M&M.
Yeah. It's difficult. What was that? I'm happy for the way my situation is. Oh, did I end that with a preposition? You did, and that's.
Can you see if you have the kids try to diagram a sentence nowadays?
Yeah. But she's having, look at that. She's even got third person here. She's teaching students third person, which is the author states, not I think. I think that, it's like, we know you think that because you're the writer. So tell us what's really, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh, I remember so many times if we ended a sentence with a preposition. I mean, we had bonehead English all 4, 2 years in junior high and then another 4 years of it in high school.
Right.
And there are some expressions now that every time I hear them, I cringe. And it's like, it's so prolific that even our professionals, even our broadcasters, even, these people that we're trusting to have the higher education are saying the same thing. And every time I hear it, it just,
Bubonics.
I don't know what it is, but it just was like really hard for me to go, oh, that's okay. That's how it is now. Because because it was so ingrained in what was considered proper. And the whole idea of speech representing somehow your intelligence on how well you read you are, or how you
critically thought.
Back to My Fair Lady and Pygmalion and all of that, because it's just so important to have that connection. But at the same time, there are some times where I'm like,
I know
what's happening? What's happening, and how is that considered okay? But
I'm still working on the dangling participle. I can remember getting smacked on the top of my head with a ruler because I didn't get rid of the dangling participle. I wait, what? What is that?
Who's dangling and where is it?
My whole life is a dangling participle.
Here, let me get rid of it.
Right?
Absolutely.
So,
Oh, wow. Well, I agree with you, Anne, about it not being it is a challenge. It's not insurmountable, because we have an e-learning section at the college, one of the colleges I work at, and she's integrating ChatGPT into her class. In other words, she's saying, okay, guys, we got this. And let's see what we can do with this. Let's take this and make it a positive. So I do believe that it can turn itself around. But what bothers me is you'd like to join us in the Zoom? You want me to send you an invitation, Teacher Barbara? I would love to do that. Yeah, I would love to do that. If you have a email, put your email in there. I'll send you an invite. You can come on in. That's fine.
So
don't you think too, to some degree, those that are going to want the shortcut, those that are going to want to cheat, or that they don't like, if I got caught cheating, I would have so much remorse, right? It would eat at me. If I can't figure it out, or if I would try and find someone that could help me figure it out. Because it's what's required. Now, algebra, that just didn't click.
No, not even
I don't have a problem admitting it. Okay.
If they had taken me to a pool hall or taught me astrology, I would have got geometry.
Geometry would have been fine in a pool hall, right? But it wasn't until the math instructor said, okay, you use this initial, this initial, this initial, this initial, this initial, you get an A. I mean, but he gave us the cheat. So what was that? Right?
And you know what I do? Nobody takes notes.
Oh,
nobody takes notes.
I take notes when we're doing this.
And so I will say something like, I don't give tests because I'm an English, but it's important that they add it into the paper when we do we do a paper where they have to do rhetorical analysis. And so I say, this is a really important thing you might want to make sure that you have in this paper. You might want to even write it down.
Down, yeah.
Because nobody has a pen. Nobody has a pencil. Nobody.
Yeah. Do they record it? They don't record it. I remember being told that when I wrote a paper, it was supposed to be a hamburger. You give your first thought, you put the meat in the middle, and then you close it on up.
That's a sandwich statement. Yes.
Close it up. Good. Right? Yeah. Short and sweet, concise, make your point, be there. But even that is difficult, I think, for some, to wrap it all up.
Yeah.
Do you want cheese on that? No, never mind.
Taking notes, right, Lise? They're awesome. I take notes on my dreams, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
We keep a journal. When I am in a meditative state and in a lucid dream, I'll come out of it, write down notes, and then go back into it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see all of these on Tuesday, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and so the morning after your show, I was still like, hell no. And I went to the moon lodge.
I told you about it.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the moon lodge and I'm doing my stuff. And I have Zephyr Ratziel show up, Gabrielle shows up, and Raguel shows up. And they're just ranting at me, right? And so books are a thing of value is how Raguel starts out speaking. In the beginning, written by hand, one book, one page, one letter at a time. To receive a book was a treasure. It took a long time for one copy to be available, 10 years sometimes.
Yes.
Days, whatever printer is designed as the publisher makes the book available much more easily, much more quickly, yes. But the author gets the least in return.
Oh, they do, yeah.
His
15%, 20%. My husband had a book come out, and that's all he got.
Yeah.
I've read self-published.
I've not seen anything yet.
I've read some self-published books, and I'm absolutely amazed that their editor forgot to do the punctuation or didn't include the end of a parenthesis.
Yeah, because they don't
miss 5 pages.
Yeah. They don't always have an editor.
Yeah.
You don't need an editor when you self-publish. If you get an editor so that somebody else does all your paperwork, well, then that's a different story. They'll go through it. They'll try to clean it up for you and tell you where you need to change, etc. But you still have final say. because it's not the same, because you got to pay them to get it printed in the first place.
I know. My
That's right.
brother is a prolific writer. He has written over 13 books. And the last time that he visited with me, he gave me a thumb drive. It's a thumb drive. And he was like, well, I just wanted you to have all my writings and, let me know what you think. And I thought, I have to plug it into my computer before I can even read it. Where's my book? I want a book. I don't want to sit at my desk and read through a book on the computer when I would rather be in my comfy chair with my cat purring in my lap and going through the pages at my leisure. I've been looking at that thumb drive for weeks now, wondering, am I ever going to open up any of the 13 books that this guy wrote? My brother, he wrote them. There's 13 books in this little thumb drive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess the technology really does matter for the majority of us, how we're presented with what we need to.
That's what I want to a point I'd like to make. And I like the tactile quality. We grew up with that. But the other thing was it's the
sound of the pages turning.
Yeah.
The sound
you feel like you can see the progress you're making. But my point was that really, if your parents valued reading, you value reading. If your parents made you read it and it was a punishment, it will always be a punishment. And if your parents didn't care anything about it, it's very, very hard at the high school, college level to start liking it. It isn't something that's exciting to people anymore. And it's so sad because it's such a gift. It's such a beautiful gift.
Well, and that's how the three of them wound it up. Gabrielle says, each page, each word, each letter, bringing us back to the days of a book is a gift, a treasure, a labor of fill in the blank. A labor of love, a labor of creativity, a labor of trying to get my point across. And then Raphael, who wrote, all of God's creations about geometry, astrology and numerology, and everything is in there. All the mystic stuff is in his book. And he said, life is not a synopsis. So when I found that opening piece that I read to you guys about how the scholars of old, when it was word, mouth to ear, how they felt about the written word to begin with. And now we're having to defend the written word.
Right.
Because it does work your memory. Even if it's not true, you're going to remember what you read. We have, I know. Shut up, Diana.
Oh, so sweet.
So Roxy says, I marvel at how many wonderful authors there are, old and new. It's the creativity of the mind that is beautiful. I agree with you completely. What saddens me is that we have more authors and books than we have readers. And so most people, if they want to be an author, and we've talked about this a little bit, and how much they make, most of them, if they're just basically, it's a good book and they sell some, they might make $14,000 that year. But it's only like Stephen King and those guys that make all that money. And fortunately for the lady Rowling, somebody pulled her book, was bored. It was a secretary, pulled the book off a pile that was at an editor's office, read it and said, you need to do something with this.
Yeah.
That never happens usually.
Right. Yeah.
That's because the authors are readers. Well, it's always nice to see the authors are readers. And I'm telling you, the creative writing students I have at the college level that I teach lit theory to, they have to take that class. It's a literature class, but they still have to take it. They don't want to take it. They don't want to think about it. It's too difficult for them. And they tell me that they hate reading. So why are they doing it? It doesn't make, I know that isn't everybody. I do know that isn't all authors, but it's sad,
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I know, Plucky. I know. It's okay. My parents loved their books more than me sometimes too, and I was.
My mom
I
said when
would
she
say
was
to my
reading
kids, "Leave me
Magus,
alone. I'm reading," and now that's what they say to me when I visit them. So yeah,
that's how my
yeah,
mom was when she was reading the book The Magus. Oh my
uh
God.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, I did it. Yeah, I teach at Southern New Hampshire online, teacher Barbara, and so and I love teaching that class. But you've got to make these creative writing people realize that what they have to do is now they have to analyze, and they don't get how to analyze anything with theory. But the key is that we analyze books all the time for plot and theme and off your voice and character, and this is just another way of looking at it. So
Right.
but they don't get it and they don't want to get it because it's not what they want to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I end up teaching classes that nobody
Doesn't
really
have
wants
thumb
to take.
control.
Yeah, and they don't really want to take these classes. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Yeah, it is a good school. Yeah, it's a good school.
Since the beginning, man has been searching for a way to preserve the valuable word, the valuable thought, the precious wisdom, the way of a record, a record
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
what you said to reach more people than the one person you're
That's
standing
right.
in front of.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And to look back at it,
yes,
it lives. A book is always alive.
yes,
It's
it's
not ever
organic.
dead.
It
Mhm.
rots. It's
Yeah,
made out of organic material,
yeah,
fabric that comes from fiber, and it's
right.
made out of trees and
Uh-huh.
newsprint.
Uh-huh. It is.
Newsprint becomes more newsprint. You
Mm-hmm.
But the
receive,
story is alive too. The
and the
story
story,
is always alive. You always write
yes.
the author says.
Don't you hear that expression?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
mother's expression every time I pick up my kitty books or any book that I pick up, it's my mother reading it to me. And
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
say every word, and because I have dyslexia, I even say comma,
Uh-huh.
period, new
Uh-huh.
paragraph. Depends on what's going on in my head at the same time.
Yeah.
But that was another thing, is the discovery of dyslexia and how to work with it and how
Sure.
to teach people to really spell, correctly
Mm-hmm.
spell, and to do
Mm-hmm.
it phonetically. Oh my God, my second grade phonetics book. Oh, I loved that little gray book. The first one was blue. That was the first one was blue. That was nice, but the gray one was special because it had blends. Oh boy, I get to learn about blends.
Oh
That's
my
fun.
gosh, this is so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So
I
cute.
and I really also we've seen the decline of cursive writing. We don't
Yes.
a lot of children now teach cursive writing. So when they write their name they have to sign their name for something, it's printed. So
Right.
And that, can you remember? I don't know about you, but I went to Catholic school, and all of third grade, page after page of circles and loops, circles and loops. I could not wait to get to fourth grade because that's when I got to write my first uppercase A and lowercase a.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Oh,
And,
it's back in the
and
curriculum.
you can tell the kids who went to Catholic school, it all looked the same.
Both of you ladies have beautiful handwriting. You have beautiful handwriting. Both of you do. Allie, I looked at it and I went, wait, is this off a printer? This isn't off of a it was so clear. It was just so clear and evenly spaced and beautifully done. And it was like, oh my gosh. When I realized it wasn't off of a printer, I was just in
You're
awe.
silly.
Oh no.
I got in so much trouble because I still do. I hold my pen like my thumb like this. And I had, you're supposed to go like this.
You are?
And my teacher would smack my hand and everything. It was
it's
awful.
like this.
Oh my God. Yeah. Did you go to Catholic school? That's how
I used to have so much fun when I would write notes upside down and backwards to people, and they'd go, "How are you doing that?" I'm like, "It's okay. Look." It was just so silly. It was just so silly. So somebody was asking in the chat if we had if we listen to audiobooks, and I love audible books because first of all, audio preferenced. So I hear before I see, smell, speak, anything. What's coming into me, auditor through the ears is is the best way for me to learn. And there are some fabulous books that are actually voiced by the author. One of my absolute favorite books is written by Eddie Izzard, who is a wonderful, wonderful, brilliant writer. But in the book, you don't get to hear all of his footnotes, and then his footnotes to his footnotes, and then, oh gosh, let's just do one more footnote to, because he goes, he goes through and he explains it all, and he's absolutely hilarious, even even in reading his own book. He goes off script, and it's like, he's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Hi,
Eddie.
Love Eddie. We love Eddie. But the other ones too that I loved in audio form were Michelle Obama and Prince Harry. It is wonderful to hear Harry's voice and his intonation, his choking up, his wait a minute, pausing and taking a breath.
Didn't Sarah, the Duchess of York, also write a children's book? I think so.
Possible.
Yeah. I like doing it if I'm out walking. If I'm at home, I see too many things that need to be done. So I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it when I'm out, on a walk.
Yeah, audiobooks. I do audiobooks as well. I don't sit and read as much as I used to. But, in a busy life, running back and forth in the car. So like this book on this plasma stuff and the new way of thinking about what heaven is, that's definitely on audio. And he reads it, so that makes it awesome because he has a very upbeat sense of humor and he puts it in there,
Yeah. It's really fun because it just really puts you in the room with the person. So for me, it's that one step closer to, understanding the inflection there, where they pause, how they breathe while they're making a statement, while they're saying something. People have always told me that in my writing, it sounds like I'm just talking, that it's a conversation that just, comes out.
There's a lot of people that their voice really does come through that way.
Yeah, it is really cool. Are we going to leave recommendations for Barbara?
I asked her to email me. Barbara, you can email me at heartandsoulconnected@gmail, and I can pass along to Diana and Kate as well. And we can certainly, that way we have her email and we'll be able to send it to her. So
one of my favorite books was 13 Clocks by Shel Silverstein.
Oh, I love Shel. Oh my God.
It's a silly fairy tale, with funny names of creatures and why are the clocks all stopped and why, what's happening with them.
Well, it's like The Giving Tree. That's like one of the best books in the whole world.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
ladies, we're at almost at an hour. I don't know if there's. I know.
Wasn't it Louis the 14th? Who was it? Louis the 14th? No, not Louis the 14th. Some leader back in the 1700s, grandfather clock stopped. That's what the whole song is about. When he died, the clock stopped and they never wound it up again. Never ran right after that.
Okay.
It's a true story. Put the music and words.
Yeah. Okay, Barbara, great. We'll get back to you. May not be tonight, but we will definitely get back to you soon, very soon. Okay.
I'm with Lise. I love to hold the book.
I know. There is just something about holding it and smelling it, and yeah. It's the print.
And the library. Remember going to the library?
Yeah.
My mom was a librarian for 30 years. So when we would go to the library, it was because we were having lunch.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That was when we were older, of course. She would bring home stacks of books and read to my children and read to us as well. So it was always a really warm place. It was a nice place. And I think that's where that phrase, honey, use your inside voice came from.
Oh, I worked for a bank when I was in the 80s, and you never talked any louder than this in a bank.
Oh, no.
And or the library, you never talked. But now it's like people come in and they slam things down, this totally different.
It
Totally
is.
different.
It is completely different.
Yes, this happened, Miss Mims. I read Spare by Prince Harry, and to me, it was a wonderful book. It was well written. It was great. And I had to stop because I didn't want it to end. And so it took me longer than normal because I was zipping right through it. So yes, I understand it. And yeah, you don't want to finish it too soon.
That's right.
Yeah.
When I read To Kill a Mockingbird the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fell in love with Atticus. And was
Well,
I 12?
yes.
Understood.
Very.
But the really sad thing, I think, too, is in the American system, you take American literature classes, or your teachers pick American authors, with the exception of maybe Dickens or something that you might have read when you were. But now it's all American stuff, and that's fine. But I love the British stuff, and I love the Russian stuff, and I love the French stuff, because it's really classic, and the people really wrote. I mean, I love Madame Bovary. It's just the way it's written. It's like having a nice piece of cake, a delicious piece of cake.
Fresh of language, the beauty of that word,
of the language.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is absolutely true, everybody. Miss Mims says if you reread something, you are a different person. It's like that old, you can't put your foot in the same water twice, or the same river,
right,
because it's a different river and your foot is a different age or whatever. Same with reading. You can read something and then, or you might not even can't read it at the time. You're like, this is too hard. But when you go back, it's a totally different experience, and you find things that you never saw before. And it's such a cool experience.
It is. It is. It's so wonderful.
Yeah,
it is.
It's the cheapest vacation I know.
That's true.
So, case in point, just To Kill a Mockingbird at 12 years old, right? And now, when the second book was published, what was that 2010, 11? I bought the box set so I could read To Kill a Mockingbird again. And oh my gosh, to look at it as an adult, especially after having gone through the riots of the 60s and all this stuff, and knowing what life is really all about, and not being a Huckleberry Finn about it all,
I understand. So, first of all, I love The Stranger by Camus. And the first time I read it, I thought it was the weirdest book I ever read. And when I've taught it, every time I've taught it, it teaches me something new. And the same thing with The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
So there was some literary theory out there, actually, and most people have read The Great Gatsby. But there was literary theory out there that was looking at it as Jay Gatsby was gay. And we were trying to find out where in the book we might have, the language and how it was used, And now there's a new theory out, that Jay Gatsby was actually a black man who tried to pass as white. Because there were that group of people that were out there.
Wow.
And it's like a different book,
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
Totally different idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Brenda, thank you for bringing that up. That's wonderful, because there are some books out there that are just so much fun to read. And actually, The Great Gatsby it's annoying in a lot of ways because some of the characters are really annoying, but there's so much meat in there for you. And it depends on the way you look at it.
Don Quixote. I love the first book, the first part. Second one, my heart breaks, and I don't know. I want to save this guy. He's going crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
I never finished it.
Yeah.
I've tried this so many times, everybody. And if you're loving this discussion, then I'm just going to say that if you would like to do a Zoom book club, this isn't Zoom, this is StreamYard. But if you would like to do a Zoom book club, then we should all meet on a Zoom. You just have to email me and let me know. We'll find a time and we will pick a book and we'll have a ball. Yep.
Yeah. Let
Yeah.
us know in the comments too, suggestions of what you would like to have.
What
us
you would
talk
like for
about.
time, or what
Yeah,
you might
time.
like to read, or
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to pull together. I've tried it 5 or 6 times, and it hasn't worked out. But honestly, it could be a lot of fun.
It could be
really
great
be a
fun.
lot of fun.
And
Yeah.
we can see everybody.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
would love that. I would love that if I had Zoom, if I had unlimited Zoom, I would totally do it. I've done book clubs and it has been such a blast.
Yeah.
But it's one of those deals too where you say, okay, read only the first 2 chapters, and then you come up on Zoom and people are like, but I already read the whole thing because I couldn't wait. It was so
Well,
good.
this is the thing. Aspie says I couldn't do it because, I read too slow. So what you do is this: we meet, we talk, and we have a conversation, and then we say what we want to do. We'll see you next month. It doesn't have to be every week. It can be
Right.
something like that, and
Yeah,
maybe you only get halfway through it, but at least you've got some meat of the
Right.
book that you can talk about. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
to
very cool.
say, like you were just talking about, just read 3 chapters between now and our
Right.
next meeting.
Now in our next,
and it can be 2-3 weeks down the road or once a month, because not everybody can read at the same pace. I'm dyslexic. No.
That's very true. That's very, and it depends on the book. I did I went to a senior citizens community before COVID, and most of the people that were living there were 75, 80 years old. They don't have anything else to do, but at that point. But we did Madame Bovary, and a lot of them had a hard time with the language because it isn't the type of book that they read normally. But when we started talking about it and the different nuances and the different things that were occurring in it, it was just a lot of fun. And it doesn't have to be a classic. It doesn't have to be a classic. It really
That's right.
Yeah.
Could be something lighthearted and fun.
And you know what? At the very least, if you're interested in continuing a chat like this in a Zoom, then just come for that. Because yes, Anne says it's great to see faces, and I agree. And to hear other voices.
And I'll wear my best perfume.
Good.
Yes.
And bring macaroons, please.
Yes,
Pink
I
ones
will.
and green ones. And okay.
There we go. We'll figure out the assignment so that everybody has a little something to, toast with.
That's right.
It'll be great
So
fun,
everybody knows my email is the same as my channel, Heart and Soul Connected, one word, @Gmail. So if you want to know more about it, or you want to find out anything about it, let us know. And if anybody wants a list of books that they're like, Diana's great with the children's books, and Kate has Eddie Izzard and some of those other folks, and I'll be happy to give you classic recommendations.
I also have the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. It's
really
I got a couple of those too. But can you imagine as an adult going back and the Harry Potter books? That's magic. That'll fit everybody in the room.
That would be wonderful. I would love it. I would love it.
We're evolving is right.
Violin by Anne Rice.
The Red Violin?
The Violin by Anne Rice.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
read that. I read some of her other stuff, but I haven't read that one.
Well, he's a vampire. It's just,
Oh, okay.
Well, he's a ghost. I shouldn't call him a vampire.
He's a ghost. Right.
But it's right up her alley.
I haven't read them. I haven't read the Potter books. If you like the pot, we could even start with them. And those are easy to read.
I haven't read them either.
No. Yeah.
Well,
thanks, everybody.
Very first
yeah.
Thank
you, Diana. This was your inspiration from my misery.
You're not alone in this book, honey.
And we're happy to have Kate with us as well, because everybody's voice is really valuable. So thank you so much. Please know that next Tuesday at 6 p.m., we have our Dream Detective show, of course. And Diana's going to come and share some of her journals and her pictures of her dreams. And then in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Juno on, I think.
Yes,
so, and we all bring your dreams. We always talk about our dreams. And we have a good time together, all of us. And thank you to those in the chat. There haven't been overwhelming. The people that were meant to be here are all here. And you've all been so good about sharing with us these different things. So we always appreciate you.
Can I
honestly.
plug tomorrow's show?
You may plug tomorrow's show.
Tomorrow's show. So we're doing Refresh again. Valerie and I are doing Refresh. The show is called Welcome Home, Discovering the Sacred Space That Is Your Home. And so it's going to have some really sweet information, and followed by a meditation at the as well. And that is tomorrow morning, 7:00 Pacific. Wake up. 7:00 Pacific, 10:00 Eastern. And we would hope that the purpose of the shows is to allow everybody to just have that moment of refresh, to go into the weekend and feel like they can, go through without, with leaving the stuff of the week behind, whatever
There
was
you go.
back out.
Start the weekend right.
Yeah.
Miss Mims, we can do it as soon as you want.
For sure.
But we're not doing any Zooms at 7 in the morning.
And none of us are shy.
Yeah.
No.
We might show up a little funny looking at 7 in the morning if we do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks,
like
everybody.
I'm
Honestly, have a great time. Thank
Yeah, we
you.
love it. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
Alan.
you.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.